You're listening to the Small and Supercharged podcast with Ria Freeman, episode 206. Well, hello and welcome to this episode of the Small and Supercharged podcast. It is a bit of a special one. It is a solo with me, but today we're going to basically do a She Means Business training via podcast. So we have done this once before, it went really well, and we're doing it again. So if you don't know what She Means Business is, I am a She Means Business accredited trainer, which is a program that is created by Facebook to help people learn how to use the amazing range of apps and products that are available. In the UK, that is powered by a really great organisation called Enterprise Nation that you'll probably see me sharing bits from when I'm doing She Means Business clinics. I'm also I was a Facebook lead trainer, but now I'm a Meta lead trainer because Facebook has changed its name to Meta, which we are going to explain in this presentation as well. So I hope you really do enjoy this one. If you do listen, please do screenshot share to stories. It's all about getting creative and building your brand online using the Meta family of apps. And I don't want to use Meta and Facebook interchangeably because I know that people are more familiar with it being called the Facebook family of apps, but I appreciate that it is now Meta. So if I do use them interchangeably, don't stress, it's the same thing. So as I said, Facebook has changed its name to Meta. But while the company name has changed, they are really passionate to offer the same products, including things like the Facebook app from Meta. Also, the data policy and the terms of service remain in effect, and the name change does not affect the way that Meta is handling or using data. You can get loads more information about Meta and the company's vision for the metaverse over at facebook.com/terms.php. But as I said, today we're going to talk about getting creative and building your brand through the Meta family of apps. But before we get started, I just want to clarify what we mean when we say creative, because it's a word that we all hear a lot. But what we mean here is things like photos and videos that you post, that you make into posts or you make into ads. We also mean the copy that accompanies them, the captions, the call to action buttons, things like that. And the way that we bring all of it together, the way that we build it. Most importantly, creative is the gateway to getting the most out of your products and services and promoting them well to your customer using the Meta group of products. It's the really important bit that connects you to your customer and allows them to understand and really understand on a deep level what you're getting at, what you're talking about, what you're sharing. When it comes to ads, creative is one really important factor in how successful a post is going to be. And it's the same when you post organically too. Your creative is the thing that stops somebody scrolling and gets them to engage with what you're talking about. Now, even though we know that creative is really important, lots and lots of small business owners, and I'm sure you're the same, and if you are a brand as well, if you're not a small business owner, but if you're building a personal brand, you'll have the same issues. And most of them boil down to 4 different things. The first thing is time. Lots of people say they don't have time to edit their pictures or videos for them to be really great. The second is money. If you are looking to create really amazing creatives, you might be looking to hire somebody. Maybe you don't have the money to hire somebody, or maybe you don't have the money to spend on special products or tools to help you capture better quality content. Maybe you don't have the resources, which is you don't have the tools to do the job, or you don't have the knowledge to pull it off. But the great thing is that you don't actually need to have loads of time. You don't need to put huge amounts of money in it. Resources, again, you don't necessarily need the things you think you need, and knowledge is what we're going to help address today, and lots of other things besides. So what we're going to cover in the next few minutes, but on this podcast, is we're going to look at business branding. We're going to talk about the 3 C's, which are customer, copy, and creative. We're going to come up with some ideas for what to use to post or advertise. We're going to have some tips about how to take great photos and videos. And then we're also going to look at how to edit those photos and videos too. We're going to start off with business branding. So when we think about business branding, there's lots of different things that can come to people's mind. We're going to be looking here at your business purpose, Also, consistent visual identity and how important that is. And this works whether you're a small business, whether you're growing a personal brand, it's important. And also the tone of voice that you use on Facebook and Instagram. A brand might seem like something that only big companies have to think about, but that's not the case at all. Everyone and every business has a brand. We've heard so much over recent years about growing your personal brand and developing your personal brand. So whether you are an influencer or you're a small business, this matters to you too. A really good way to think about it is that people have got personalities and businesses have brands. So your brand, it's not just your logo or the colours you use. It's very much at your core like your personality is. Your business's brand is its identity, or your brand's brand, your personal brand's brand is its identity. What makes you tick? What makes you different? It's how you present your business to the world or your brand to the world and how people perceive your business or your brand too. Now, you might not think that having a brand is particularly important, but the thing is it helps people to recognise your business and what you stand for without them having to read it. When you've put that time and energy into developing your brand and your identity and what you stand for, people will associate it with your image or your logo or your colours. It's important to build this, and it's a really great opportunity to build trust with your audience, which is super, super important when you want people to make contact with you or make a purchase. And when we're talking about, is it important? Is it not important? Do we need to be aware of it? When people are scrolling through Facebook and Instagram, it doesn't take them long to see something and have a reaction. In fact, it's 0.5 seconds. That's the amount of time that the human brain needs to engage with mobile advertising to trigger a reaction. So if we can get that brand and that brand identity front and centre, that's going to help people make those decisions quickly. To recognise your brand, there's some real basics. There are 3 components of the brand. The first one is your business or your brand's purpose. Why are you doing what you do? What are you about? Your visual identity, so this is things like your logos and your colour palette and even how you edit your pictures. And then your business's voice. And this might seem a bit strange, like why would your business have a voice? But if you look at lots of different people's accounts, you will see that businesses have different voices. Some are very casual, some are very formal, some are very technical, some are not at all. And it is important. There are lots of different examples out there in the world. Go and look at some of the big brands and look at how they speak, whether they use first person or third person. That's the kind of thing that filters through everything. We're going to start with purpose here. So what do you do and why do you do it? Why does your business exist? Now, if you've been on any of these trainings before, and I hope you have, Meta likes to use different examples, and one really popular one is called the lucky shrub. So we're going to work through this example about what is your brand's purpose using the lucky shrub as an example. And ideally, if you could follow along, that would be awesome. So the Lucky Shrub is a plant shop in Chicago, and they do provide the best quality plants in the area. They started Lucky Shrub because they love travelling and learning about different plants, and they care deeply about living sustainably. And they're also hugely passionate about the outdoors. They believe that bringing high quality plants into our lives can increase well-being and happiness. Now, maybe as a different idea altogether, you are a dentist, a paediatric dentist, and you started your business because you care deeply about making that trip to the dentist not terrifying for children. You want to make it positive, you want to make them feel safe, and you want to make sure that they keep coming back even when it's not particularly pleasant, but they understand the importance and the value of looking after their teeth. So we know why we're there, we know what our brand is about, we know why we started what we're doing, and now we move on to our visual identity, which I think a lot of people do think of as branding or the brand, but it's much bigger than that. So think about your visual identity, that's what your audience sees. When we introduce branding, someone needs that 0.5 seconds to engage and react, and this is where the branding aspect comes in. You can communicate your brand's visual identity through your logo, through the palette of colours that you use on your marketing materials, and they should be consistent. Most people will have a logo and they may have a coloured version and a white version, which can go on different things. And they'll usually have a colour palette. They'll have like a primary colour they use a lot, but they'll often have some secondary colours that they use as well. Take time to think about how you want that business of yours or your brand of yours to look visually. There are a few ways to make your visual identity more recognisable. You can use logos as your profile photograph. So these are, particularly if you've got a business page or a business account on Facebook, a really great place to put these. You can use the same filter or the same few filters if you filter your images. If you think about the way that images work and the way that filters work, for example, with my own grid, I use lots of greens because a lot of my business is based in the countryside and I deal with people in that area. If I started putting kind of neons and things on, it would look a bit strange. Equally, if I started applying really harsh filters, it wouldn't really fit my aesthetic. So if you do use filters, just try and pick one or maybe a couple, but think about that because you don't want it to move around too much and be confusing. Because although we want our logo to stop people, people can also recognize your imagery and stop there too. You can also look to integrate similar colors. And what I was saying about how I tend to use like greens and burgundies and things like that, that's kind of synonymous with my brand, and they're actually my brand colours as well. But it just gives people a better opportunity to stop and see what you're up to. And finally, we want to think about the voice of the brand. This will come across in all of your copy, in your bio, and also in how you interact with your customers. Think about your brand and where you may fit on different spectrums. So keep in mind that you can be a mixture of both. So is your brand serious or is it funny? Is it formal or casual? Is it respectful or irreverent? Is it matter of fact or is it enthusiastic? Now, going back to the Lucky Shrub again, they consider themselves somewhere between funny and serious, pretty casual in the way that they speak, always respectful and enthusiastic about their products. So they might put something like, as a caption, "Hey friends, we're Lucky Shrub and we source beautiful and sustainable plants for your home. Stop by our shop and say hi." As you can see there, it is very respectful. Hey friends. It's very casual. Again, hey friends. Stop by, say hi. And it is very enthusiastic. They've talked about how they love what they're doing, and that will really come through in your copy too. And now we need to bring these all together. How can you bring each of those to the piece? Think about how you view your content. The first thing people tend to do, and the thing that makes them stop scrolling, is that photo or video. It is the visual that stops them scrolling. Then they might see your logo or your business name, and that makes them connect with you and your business's or your brand's purpose because they know what you're about. Then they probably read the copy, and that's your voice. Each piece needs to be recognised for your brand. Now that you've got your brand, it's time to bring it to life on Meta's platforms. There are a few things you need to think about when you're building a post or ad. These are the 3 C's that we mentioned at the start of this podcast: customer, copy, and creative. Your customer is who you're talking to. You want to consider what they are interested in and why they should care about your business. What works for them? Your creative is what you want to show your customer. The same piece of creative might not even make sense for every customer. If you've got different customer avatars and different people that you serve, it might not work for everybody. And then we've got the copy, and that is what you're telling your customer in words. What do they need to know? We're going to walk through the anatomy of a Facebook ad, and we're going to see where each piece of these 3 C's fits in and why it's so important. Now, as I said, Meta do like to use the Lucky Shrub as an example. Another one is Little Lemon. This is a farm-to-table restaurant, and with the example we're going to talk through here, they want to promote their new menu and encourage people to try it out. Their copy and creative should relate to their ideal customer, and in this case, their ideal customer is people who are located nearby and that they really are into locally sourced farm-to-table food. They want to show their customers what they can expect of this new menu. So they're sharing a great quality photograph of one of the meals on the menu. And when it comes to their copy, they're clearly and succinctly sharing what they want to tell their audience, that they have locally sourced summer menu and they're trying new things weekly. The link below the copy, they've added a link. This is a Facebook post, so they can, and they've added a link beneath the photo, and that highlights the important information connected to outdoor seating and also the option to have deliveries. All the 3 pieces, the customer, the creative and the copy, play a really, really important role in successfully communicating whatever message you are planning to share with your customers. Now, how do you know, so you've got all this going on, which is great, but how do you know what to share in your posts and in your ads? You know, we know how to do it, but how do we know what to share? Meta often hears that small businesses need help coming up with ideas and that it can be really challenging and really time consuming to constantly come up with new content. And we all know what it's like when we're really, really busy. It is hard to keep coming up with new, fresh ideas all the time. So luckily we're here to help. Planning out your content can help you to be a lot more consistent with your posting. It can save you time by having the post ready to go, and it genuinely just feels like a big weight has lifted off your shoulders if you've got a plan in place. You're not having to constantly search what you're going to post. You know what you're going to post. Even if you know the overall theme and then you find the specific things that fit that theme, you're still a long way there. But luckily, we have also got a framework here to help get you started. Now, there's lots of different ways you can come up with a content plan, but one really great way is to use the educate, engage, and excite idea. It's important to have a mixture of these 3 types of post to see which one resonates most with your audience, and it is different for every business. So when we think about engaging content is we want to get our audience interested and following along with the business. This might not necessarily be posts that say buy this, buy this, buy this, but it will be ones that will encourage people to engage and get involved with what you're doing. Educational content teaches your audience more about your product or service, or maybe even your business or your industry. And finally, content that excites your audience will motivate them to purchase or reach out to you. A few examples of content to engage your audience could be something like sharing the origin story of your business. Why did you start it? How did it get started? You could also maybe do like a spotlight on different people inside your business, whether it's the founder of the business or the employees, which can be a really lovely way as well to connect with people online, to make it, when they see them offline, so much easier. Or maybe you could show customer reviews. That could be a nice way to engage with your audience too. When thinking about educating, there's lots we can do to help educate our audience through the post. So perhaps you can show them what makes your product or service unique. You could make a big thing about your hours or location, or you could show your service or product in action. When it comes to how to excite your audience, you could share a promotional sale, you could announce a new product or service, you could announce an event that you're hosting on or off the internet. It could be in actual real life, or it could be on Facebook. And all of this could give your audience that extra push they need to engage with that brand and maybe even make a sale. So that's the end of today's session. I really hope you have found that useful. Getting creative and building that brand can feel really big and really, really challenging, but just break it down, think about each thing at a time, and it does get a whole lot easier. So hopefully from today's chat, you've learned a little bit more about how to incorporate your brand and how it doesn't always have to be a logo, but things like your brand's colours, your voice can also be so valuable in establishing your brand. We've talked about whether you're building posts or an ad, and make sure that you're keeping your customer copy and your creative in mind when you're working this together. And we've also come up with some different ideas around the engage, educate and excite categories, and that you can hopefully consider doing that with a little bit of planning. Thank you so much for listening today. As I said, I've been able to share this really nice presentation with you as I'm a She Means Business accredited trainer. Do find out more about She Means Business through Facebook or through Enterprise Nation, who do power it in the UK and help a load of us She Means Business accredited trainers. I want to say there's about 20-ish, provide online training, and hopefully in the not too distant future in real life too. Any questions you've got, reach out to me. Do have a search for She Means Business online, all one word, start it with a hashtag, and do have a good old search on Enterprise Nation as well, which is enterprisenation.com. Thank you for listening.